Hello, everybody. I wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that if you would like to learn the magic of how to work with the Nakshatras, plus many other Vedic astrology techniques, my new online academy is open for registration with both certification and non-certification options. And you can visit the Pulse of the Universe Academy of Vedic Astrology and subscribe to a membership at the link above. So this particular full moon in Dhanishtha Nakshatra finds you in a position where the pressure's on. You're dealing with a stressful situation where it's your responsibility to create stability in the midst of chaos, right? It's like being given a grain of flour and a grain of yeast, and you're being asked to make a loaf of bread with that, right? But, sure, you can make a really tiny loaf of bread with that, but it is possible, right? But what's happening in this particular scenario is as you're facing the restraints of the limitations that you're finding yourself having to cope within, it's beginning to feel frustrating because what's happening is every time you come up against a certain level of resistance, you back away from the situation. You try to understand what it is that you might actually be missing. You retool everything and you reconstruct your situation and go, okay, well, this must be the appropriate way forward now. And certainly this is going to have the progress that I'm hoping to achieve, only to find out that you're dealing with further delays and you're dealing with further resistance. Then that begins to make your mind get frustrated. In the midst of that frustration, you find yourself, equally getting a little bit obsessive about things. And then you begin to hear this little voice in your mind that begins to talk at warp speed, spouting out tons of ideas, concepts, things that you can't even imagine in about a mile a minute, and you can't even put it all together, even if you wanted to, because you don't really know what to do with all the information that's moving fast at lightning speed through your mind, right? Well, what you got to do in that particular situation is the very thing that one part of you is saying, I can't afford to do. And that is to take time. To take time to allow things to develop a little bit further. Now, I know what you're saying. You're going, well, I took time last week and I took time the week before, and now I'm really up against the wall and I really can't take time anymore. But hey, what else are you going to do? You're going to freak out. That's what you're going to do. Is that going to accomplish anything? The moment you begin to get into that freak out, that's the moment that you begin to not work well with yourself. That's the moment that you get in your own way, that you stumble over your own feet and nothing happens. That's the moment that you begin to obsess over the way things are not going, and you begin to try to make them go in a direction that's completely opposite of what you're trying to achieve in the first place. Now, what area of your life might this be impacting? That's going to be related to wherever the full moon might be falling in your horoscope and whatever else it might be setting off in your horoscope. And if you'd like a little bit more information on both of those things, I'd be happy to help if you want to schedule an astrological service with me through my astrological services page that you will find linked above. So you have to take time for development, even though you don't really feel that you can. The other thing that you need to do is to recognize that even though it may feel like you're kind of off on your own about this, that the solution may not be to do something radical, right? One part of you may feel like, well, there's a point that I have to prove. That same energy that's going, hey, there's a point that I have to prove, is also giving you the courage and the strength to survive through the situation that you're having to deal with. So it's a little bit difficult to separate one from the other. But you have to recognize that this is not a point of pride. Sure, this is a responsibility. This is something that you have to do. There's no question about that. But the thing is this is not you having to prove something to anybody. All you need to do is take your own unique approach to the situation. Even if you feel like you're in a situation where you have to go it alone, be willing to go it alone. Be willing to be strong enough inside of yourself, because that strength is there so that you can be a support to somebody else who might be involved in your scenario, well, who may not be as strong. Part of the difficulty that we're dealing with this particular full moon cycle is a blend of impatience with being particular, right? So I'll go back to the situation I was talking about before. When the particular way that you see something should develop is not producing the results that you thought were going to develop, then you become very impatient and you become very frustrated. When that impatience hits, you begin to obsess. When you begin to obsess, nothing is going to work out correctly. So don't try to push through blindly with this situation. Rise to the occasion, but don't feel that you have to conquer, right? You're dealing with a setback, and you're equally dealing with limitations that are necessary at this particular moment in time, even though it may feel to you like, well, this is unnecessary and it doesn't make any sense. Right, well, maybe it doesn't make any sense to you now, but the restriction that you presently face is working as a huge creative force in your particular situation. Resistance helps in the process of crystallization. When you find those several things that don't work, you know precisely what you have to refine. But in the method of refinement that you've been approaching, you've been letting your mind get obsessive, you've been letting your mind feel pressured, and you need to back away from that pressure, accept the limitations as something that can help you to both refine and define the perfect solution. And if you could use a little bit of help with this particular situation, as I mentioned, I do offer several different levels of astrological service. All of these are available at sliding scale rates through my website, which you will find at the link above. That's going to do it for this look at the full moon in Dhanishtha Nakshatra, which takes place on the 3rd of August, 2020. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.